What's up, guys? Robert here from Sideboard Games here, again with another deck tech. Yeah, I did a couple of these, so I figured I'd go ahead and upload all of them, so you guys had some content to kind of munch on, to catch up for the break that we had. So we've already covered one of the Kaguya lists and Abdul, so now we have another one of the boogeymen in the meta for the Bifrost format. You have Grimm the Fairy Tale Prince. Yeah, this guy is just really good. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is actually the deck list of the guy who got first at the Japanese Open that just happened. We had the 4th place deck for the Abdul, but here's the actual winning deck list. And it's Grimm the Fairy Tale Prince. There's no surprise, really. I mean, Grimm is just really, really, really good. Fairy Tales are really, really, really good. So let's go ahead and you got a sideboard here, but let's go ahead and take a look at Grimm. For those of you that are not familiar with him, he is a ruler only. He doesn't have a J ruler, so his continuous ability is you may pay the attribute cost of Fairy Tale Resonators with any will of any attribute. So basically, all of your lands, all your dual stones, basically for in essence of casting Resonators or creatures, are all City of Brasses for Magic players, or they just have for any mana. So, or any will. You still have to have the correct color will to play your spells and additions and everything. But for the most part, being able to tap anything for you to play anything is really, 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 really awesome. It allows a lot of ideas there's just different ways that you can go with Grimm, and he's really, really good. Granted, it is limited to fairy tales, but depending on your mana base, open it to basically all options. His next ability is probably one of the most potent. There's kind of a debate to which one is actually better. Early game, of course, being able to pay any attribute or any color for your fairy tales is really strong, no doubt about it. But in the late game, mid to late game, whenever most strategies, being able to pay 1 and discard a fairy tale and search for whatever threat you need at the time, or whatever answer you need, or threat, or whatever, is above and beyond really busted. And one of the main reasons I think that he doesn't have a J ruler side, because if he had a J ruler side, the card would be the ruler would be too good, in my opinion. But like I said in previous deck techs, there are other decks that do very well against Grimm, and he's not play Grimm, or it's the Bifrost format isn't play Grimm or lose, but he does win a very solid amount of a lot of matches. So let's go ahead and dive into his deck list here. Actually, let's start with this stone deck. He actually plays 12 stones. So this is one of the first decks we've seen out of the coverage and everything that have been running 12 stones, and he did really well. He's running 10 dual stones, being 3 of the blue-red, 4 of the white-red, and 3 of the white-blue. And then he's running the 2 true stones, which we'll actually get into. Almerius, the levitating stone, is actually really, really good. It allows you to basically turn or give any J ruler or Resonator, which we don't have to worry about J ruler, but returns any Resonator we have into a flying Resonator, which, as we all know, evasion is really, really solid. Then we have Mujdart, the fantasy stone. This basically turns all of your rulers, all of your J rulers, or turns a J ruler and Resonator into whatever you want. At least, well, not into anything, but it forces them to lose all races and gains race of your choice. So you basically make them whatever you want. So really good versus a lot of different strategies and decks that are kind of out there, especially like Joan of Arc and all that stuff like that. You'll see Joan of Arc really using the fantasy stone to start making things into humans. So those are the stones. It's pretty solid. He is running 12. He really doesn't have to really worry for that much. I mean, he does have a lot of early game strategy that we'll get into, but it's an overall very, very consistent, really, really solid list. It has a lot of things that they're doing early, mid, and late game. A lot of mid and late game consistency is really having to do with Grimm's basically his second ability of just being able to ditch whatever and search for whatever he possibly needs to continue the pressure and everything. So let's go and break into the deck. We start with the spells, of course. He's running 2 Duels of Truth, which we've covered in the other videos. It's really solid form of removal that helps you target. It's one of the removal that can target J rulers, which is very, very helpful. Pretty self-explanatory. He's running 2 copies. He's running 2 copies of Thunder and 2 copies of Dream of Juliet. We touched on Dream of Juliet and how I was a big fan of modal spells, and it's really good. So it's no surprise to kind of see the exact same spells kind of crop up. Granted, we only have 2 sets, so that's going to happen. But it's when you have the removal and everything else, it's pretty much self-explanatory what you're going to run. You can expect when you're sitting down to play somebody. You're going to expect to see Thunders. You're going to expect to see Duel of Truths and stuff like that. Especially like stuff like Dream of Juliet's. One of the biggest cards in the deck by far is the Fairy Tale. Now, what this card allows you to do, we touched on it in the previous deck tech, but it allows you to search your deck for any Fairy Tale Resonator. You reveal it and put it to your hand. Since our ruler is Grimm, the Fairy Tale Prince, you can basically, instead of putting it into your hand, you put it into the field instead. And you get the enter ability. So what that allows you to do is search for things like Rapunzel. It allows you to toolbox. Plus, Grimm alone by himself allows you to toolbox. You don't have to run multiple copies of cards, as you can see in his deck list. It may look weird, but since Grimm allows you to toolbox, and you have Fairy Tale, it's really convenient to run multiple silver bullets or different options and different to have different decision trees. So you can you have Rapunzel, you have Grimm, other Tinkerbell, Cheshire Cats, you have the Humpty Dumpty, and the main thing is, more often than not, your turn 3 versus a lot of decks for your Hamlin's Pied Piper. Now, this guy's really, really, really good. We're going to touch him here in a minute, but he's basically your main. We'll go in depth with him, but he's basically a 5-drop that comes into play. Magic players, he's your Frost Titan. You just don't have the counter, when he becomes targeted unless you pay 2. So, but he's basically Frost Titan for your Magic players. He comes into play. He resonates your opponent controls. It doesn't recover, and then whenever he attacks, he gets to tap another thing. And he's 1,000,000. So playing him on turn cheating him out on turn 3 is actually really, really, really good. There's a lot of decks that are running Grimm that use the green package so that they can tell a Fairy Tale even on as early as turn 2. I don't know if that's really wise if playing against the majority of the decks, like running Stonings and everything else. But if you're not playing against a Darkness deck, it's really, really hard to deal with like a turn 2 Hamlin's Pied Piper. It's like not really sure what you do. It comes into play turn 2, locks your creature down, and they just keep locking down all of your creatures that you play. So, getting into the Resonators and the creatures, of course, he has playing 1 copy of Little Dread, the Fake Red Moon. It's a 3-cost, 1 colorless 2 red nightmare. It has target attack, which we talked about. It can attack recovered J rulers and Resonators. Now, Awakening is an ability we didn't cover in previous decks. Magic, think of it as kicker, but Awakening is whenever you play it, you pay the additional cost, and if you pay the additional cost, it gets certain enter abilities. So its first Awakening cost is 1 red. If it enters, target Resonator gets plus 600 and minus 600 to end in turn. So it has built-in removal. If you pay the extra red and colorless, it gets to untap or recover another creature. You gain control of it, and it gains haste or swiftness until end of turn, which is really, really, really good. You'll see this ran in multiples in red decks and everything else as a way of stealing, basically removing a creature, stealing another creature, and just, kind of, oops, here comes an extra, 1,000 points of damage that you didn't see coming before. So then he's running 2 copies of Gilderay, the Golden Dragon. This card's actually really, really, really strong, simply because he's an 800, 1200 flying, and it has haste or swiftness. Using attack the same turn that comes into play. His first continuous is he gains plus 200 power for each of your fire magic stones. So in this deck, he's at least getting, as you can see, there's 7 stones There's 7 stone, actually, yeah, 7 stones in the deck that are fire, and you at least have to have 2 to cast him anyway. So at worst, he's a 1200 at 6 flying haste. Average, I would probably say with 7 stones, 7 out of 12, he should possibly be a 1400, 1200, depending. So maybe even more, depending on how lucky you get with your calling of your mana stones. But the kicker with this guy, and it's really, really good. He's great for coming down, answering a J ruler, since he has flying, of course, and answering a J ruler that attacked you or something. And his second continuous ability that a lot of some people when we play on Lackey, some people forget is whenever he's destroyed, you may banish 3 of your fire magic stones. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to the field. So many a times you can play him, run straight into like a J ruler or something. It dies. You sack your 3 magic stones, and then you bring it back, and then you just attack it. Attack something else, or attack into your opponent. So it's really, really, really good for 6 mana. Granted, you're not ramping like some of the other decks and getting to him, early, even earlier. But he's still really good, really solid 6-drop that you kind of have to expect when somebody's playing fire, because they'll come out of nowhere and deal a lot of damage. So now we have an early drop here. We have Hunter in the Black Forest. He's a 300 haste swiftness creatures. Basically, he's just a really early drop that comes in and just deals 300. Solid. He's a fairy tale, so he's a very solid like late game pitch. If you're sitting there and your board's kind of stalled, you draw a Hunter and you're like, all right, well, I'm sitting on like 6, 7, 8 mana, or I don't want a 300 haste creature. Let me just go ahead and ditch it to Grimm and go pull out a Pied Piper, play it, lock something down, or get a Grimm to remove one of their creatures. Or it's got a lot of these low creatures have Grimm turns them into multi-use for the most part, and he's really awesome early game. It's just a very efficient creature, comes into play and deals 300 points of damage. So then you have Joan of Arc, the Awakening Purity, has 3 light, basically casting cost or attribute cost. It's a 700 Saint Human. Continuous. Each turn, prevent the first damage that would be dealt to a fantasy or human J Resonator you control. So we have a lot of humans in the deck, and we have a decent number of fantasies. As you can see, Gilda Ray, the Golden Dragon, is a fantasy. Let's see what else we have. You have a human with Rapunzel. You have, of course, Joan of Arc herself's a human. You have Aesop, which we'll get to in a minute. Basically, we have a lot of humans and a lot of, we have some fantasy. So she covers the gambit. Her awakening cost is 1 light. When she enters, you may put a non-spell fantasy card from your hand into the field. You may pay an additional light as you play this card. Basically tells you what Awakening does. If you pay an additional light, you get to gain the following ability. So if you pay 4 light, which is a lot, if you're able to pay 4 light, you can put a fantasy into a non-spell fantasy card from your hand to the field. So being able to drop Dragon on 4, is a realistic thing. It could be really, really good, especially when it prevents the the first part of damage that's dealt to it. So. Then, of course, we have Rapunzel. Rapunzel is really, really good. It's a really solid card that you end up getting later, and allows you to, since you're able to have multiple attacks, having a combo, having her in there for just the combo is really solid. So let me go and explain Rapunzel. Rapunzel's a 3-drop light fairy tale human. 600. Her continuous is this card doesn't recover during its recovery phase. Now that's okay. It's an okay drawback, but the thing is you can activate you can rest your recovered Resonator you control other than Rapunzel, the long-haired princess. Recover this card. So as long as you have an untapped creature, you can tap it to untap Rapunzel. And then you have an activate. You tap it to give target Resonator plus 200 in flying until end of turn. So what you can do is you can tap to give Rapunzel plus 200 attack. and flying. Tap one of your other creatures, untap Rapunzel, attack for 800. Tap another one, untap creature you control, untap Rapunzel, attack for 800. So you kind of get like the little combo of Rapunzel without having to run 4 copies of her. You just kind of get the silver bullet. It's like, haha, I got the combo. Let me go ahead and attack you for like 3,200, 4,000, depending on how many creatures you got, out of nowhere. So Rapunzel is another thing you always got to think about when you're playing against Grimm, because the combo does exist. People do play the combo, and yeah, being able to get beat down by Rapunzel is it doesn't feel as good as it as it sounds. So Aesop, the Princess Tutor. He's a 2-drop, 500/500. Very solid, cost to body ratio. He's a human. Continuous. Each fairy tale you control cannot be targeted by spells or abilities your opponents control. Really, really solid ability. Being able to protect your other creatures and force them to answer Aesop is, it's he does a lot of work. Granted, he's not over the thunder cap. He does get destroyed by thunder and rapid decay and stoning. So I mean, all the removal basically hits him. I mean, if you have the Joan of Arc, you can prevent. You do kind of stop the thunders and the duels and all this stuff like that. But for the most part, when you play Aesop, he's gonna get answered, or things kind of get out of hand pretty quickly. But yeah, other than that, 500/500, 2-drop that protects all your other fairy tales, and is really, really solid. Grimm, the actual super rare Grimm, the Avenger of Fairy Tales. He's a 2-drop fairy tale human. When he enters the battlefield, you choose a Resonator, remove it from the game if it's darkness, which is really solid. You're going to have a lot of darkness creatures. Laura Carmilla package is really powerful. It's a really good way of getting rid of Mephistopheles. So it removes it if it's darkness, right? Otherwise, it gets plus 200, plus 200 until end of turn. So it either boosts something, or it removes a darkness creature, which is really solid for a 2-drop. Its awakening cost is 1 light. If your J Ruler, Sacred Princess, is guarding light of guidance, or Lumia, the Creator of Hope, the J Resonator your opponent controls lose all abilities in a turn. Sadly, we don't get that effect, but being basically 2-drop with built-in removal or a pump, really solid. Tinkerbell, one of the most scariest 1-drops. Tinkerbells can get out of hand very, very, very fast. There are times where your opponent just kind of goes, "Hey, look, I just got like the multiple Tinkerbell hands on top of other fairy tales," and then before you know it, you're looking at multiple 600s on like turn 2, and yeah, it's very, very solid. Early drops, a lot of early pressure. So yeah, pretty self-explanatory. 1-drop 0/0 counts basically counts herself. Granted, if you Abdul her, it's always fun. Abdul's really fun. You just Abdul her and she just dies. She loses all her abilities. So 1 copy of Cheshire Cat. I don't know. I'm pretty sure this guy has been playing a lot longer than I have. I don't know if I guess you really don't need. I guess there is an argument for not running a full complement of Cheshire Cats whenever you have the tutor ability with Grimm. You don't have to worry about drawing cards to get a bunch of stuff. It is a fairy tale, so you can ditch it. I don't know if only running. I don't know. I've only played it. I've played it a handful of times. I think I've played a total of like 6 to 7 matches with the deck. It's really, really solid. Just because, like I said, being able to tutor, it's not really fair in a lot of matchups, because once your opponent runs out of gas, you really never run out of gas, because you're always going to get whatever you need at the cost of just paying a mana. And the thing is one thing to keep in mind when you're playing is you can activate it during your draw step before you recover. So if you have untapped mana, you can use the mana to cast spell. The biggest thing is, before you untap, there's actually a priority sequence where you can cast spells before you untap. So it's really good, stuff like that. So being able to ditch, untap, and have exactly what you need, really solid. So I don't know if maybe more Cheshire Cats are needed or not. Like I said, I haven't played a lot. So you guys build it, test it. I mean, I don't know. I like running more Cheshire Cats than one. I like having them. So Humpty Dumpty, gotta love Humpty Dumpty. He's a 3-drop 800/800. So really solid body for cost. If you activate him, you can banish the card, reveal the top card of your main deck. If it's a Resonator, put it onto your field. Otherwise, put it into your graveyard. As you can see, he's only running 13 non-Resonators. So 27 cards. So a very solid. He's got a very solid 70-ish% chance of getting a Resonator for the most part. And I mean, there is also, you can just, if you have the have the hand. That's why I like playing more Cheshire Cats, is being able to play a Cheshire, play Humpty, and then what's there, or have played a Cheshire, and then just sacking it and getting, cheating something big into play, like your dragon or something else. So, or Pied Piper, which he's right there, which we're going to talk about now. So Humpty Dumpty is really good for any kind of surprise out of nowhere kind of thing. There's plenty of times where I've played kind of a different version where I would set it up to where my opponent would declare an attack, and then I would sack my Humpty, knowing that I had a Hamlin's Pied Piper to lock something down that they had played, that it had haste or swiftness or whatever. Like being able to, like, they'd play their dragon, and then in response, you bring in Pied Piper and lock down their creature. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think that. Never mind. But yeah, Pied Piper. Hamlin's Pied Piper is a 5-drop, 3 colors, 2 blue, 1,000. We talked about him a little bit earlier, but the card is pretty nutty. If you get him on turn 3, he just taps and then keeps tapping. You have to answer him, otherwise he's going to lock down all of your creatures, and he's either going to answer them by attacking them, or he's just gonna kind of soft lock you, and it's not gonna be fun, because it's 1,000 is it's on the level of J rulers, and it's bigger than the majority of all the creatures out there that are usually on the field. So runs 1 copy of Oz, another tutorable card, and gets you a bunch of different things. And we talked about him earlier. Very solid, 3-drop, 6/6. He's a fairy tale, so you can search for him and just search for a spell you need. So you almost always have a Duel of Truth or Thunder for the most part, because you can just ditch whatever fairy tale you have to go search for Oz, play Oz, and then get that get that Thunder that you need, or that duel you need. So having a singleton Oz is actually pretty good. It's basically just an additional copy of, Duel of Truth or Thunder. So you then, of course, you have 1 copy of Athos, which we'll get to the additions here in a second. Athos is just really strong. He is a fairy tale. You can search for him. Really good. Glinda. Glinda is actually a really strong fairy tale creature, 2-drop. A lot of people don't talk about that much, but the fact that you can make a target creature unblockable when it enters, or being able to basically sack this card and cancel a spell unless its opponent pays 2. So if your opponent is trying to lull you out early, in the early games, you can sack it to be able to counter their lull, so you actually get something in. Or if they if you're playing them and they kind of forget, forgot about Glinda, they played a stoning to death or something, and it's like, oh well, I forgot about Glinda, and you go, I'll sack it, protect my dragon or my Rapunzel or something, your Aesop or. But yeah, all in all, very, very solid card. Being able to not block so you can revenge kill something, is really solid. And next we have our additions, of course, is Bloody Moon. Bloody Moon is very, 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 very good. It gives all your werewolves plus 200, but being able to destroy a target magic stone can be pretty powerful. It's a pretty powerful effect. Being able to set your opponent back a turn can be really nutty, especially whenever they're trying to hit their key turns, depending on their on what the deck they are. Like for Abdul, getting turn 3, they're playing their 4 drops, or just anything that ramps. Paying just a lot of turn 3 is crucial for a lot of decks. Turn 5 is crucial for a lot of decks, and just kind of knocking them back a turn while you're gaining a turn is actually really, really, really good. Because the majority of all the competitive decks are running dual stones with true stones, so it's very. I mean, besides your mono red, it's very mono red or mono wind. It's very rare to not see a deck that isn't running magic stones. Plus, of course, it answers true stones too. So, which for a lot of matchups like Joan of Arc and all those other decks like that use Almerius or Mujdart, the Fantasy Stone, kind of removing them is pretty powerful, because other than that, there's really no way. There's no way to remove them. So, and if I can shut off my ability, my opponent's ability to get something flying consistently, or change the race and kill my creatures, then yeah, it's really nice to kind of tech 2 of. So, and then of course the addition that matters is the Ratcatcher's Pipe. As you can see, it's a 1-drop Resonator addition. Resonator with this gains the rest. You activate it, rest it. So basically, you tap it and you tap another target Resonator. If it's on Hamlin's Pied Piper, though, it gains pay 1 water, recover this card, and you can you can basically pay 1 water to return Ratcatcher's Pipe back to its hand. So once you play your Pied Piper and you equip it with Ratcatcher's Pipe, being able to basically turn your Pied Piper into like a little tapping down machine gun and just locking your opponent down, it's really, really, really good. It's really hard. It's really hard to kind of catch up at that point if you're able to lock your opponent down. So all in all, it's a really, really solid deck. It does a lot of things. It's very, 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 very versatile, and it has a lot of sustain to it. It's pretty beefy in the fact that the longer the game goes, you're just playing right into kind of Grimm's hands, because they're just going to have the threat or the answer they need for that turn and for each turn that follows. So it's rush strategies do really, really, really good against Grimm, because you're just pouring pressure and pouring damage, and it's really, really good. Drac does really good against Grimm. So Drac's usually what I like to run whenever I see a pretty solid Grimm heavy field. But let's go ahead and get to his sideboard that he ran. He ran 2 extra copies of Bloody Moon, which is pretty self-explanatory for most decks that are playing True Stones, or just you want to put your opponent put your opponent back on the clock. You're playing 2 Realm of Pure Spirits for control heavy decks. Basically, they're killing your Aesops and everything. They're gonna bring in a bunch of more creature hate, and they're gonna start taking out more of your addition hate, more of their addition hate. So you bring in your Realm of Pure Spirits, and yeah, well, your recovered Resonators just can't be targeted by spells or abilities your opponent controls. They have 2 more copies of Joan of Arc, which this, of course, is Joan of Arc's really, really solid. 2 more copies of Duel of Truth, 2 more copies of Thunder to help with your aggro matchups. A Longinus, the Holy Lance, for your darkness matchup for Drac and everything else. And another copy of the Dragon. 1 more copy of Grimm for, of course, the Drac matchup and everything else. and Purifying Fire, of course, because it deals 700 to a target player, or 1,000 to a human, and you know, there are a lot of human, like I said in previous whatchamacallits, there are a lot of human J-rulers, so yeah, it's a really, really solid list. It got first, he got his invite to Worlds, so yeah, feel free to check the deck out. There's a lot of different ways you can build Grimm, a lot of different ways, and the simple fact that, like I said, a lot of fact that you can toolbox and tutor for anything you need means the possibilities are almost endless, and the fact that you can tap for use any mana, it's whatever your personal preference is. Just consider the decks, the certain meta decks that you're going to be playing against, and kind of build your core removal suite and everything else, and then the majority of your decks, the rest of your deck tailored to kind of combating that meta, and then play whatever creatures you like. I mean, granted, pretty much the given for Grimm is you're more than almost always playing a full complement of Telefairy Tale, and as well as like Tinkerbell and Hamlin Pied Pipers. Out of all the lists I've seen, like those cards have been easily just a straight core set of 4-ofs. Oz is usually run, from what I've seen, usually at 2 is usually the good is what people have been running. You can tell that he's just split. He decided he just wants to. Granted, he can toot up Rapunzel, Grimm's, Cheshire, a Humpty, an Oz, an Athos. So you can see that he split up instead of running like twos and threes. He split up just to have a true toolbox and have servable that answers. So, but yeah, there's multiple different ways you can build it, just like all these other decks. There's multiple different ways you can build them. His build, of course, for his meta that he was playing in at the Open, that's what he decided to go with. He play tested it, I'm pretty sure, relentlessly, as most of my Japanese friends that I've met through Magic and everything else. They're playtesting machines, so they dump a lot of hours into playing decks. So I don't think I can doubt if his numbers, because I don't know his meta. But I'm pretty sure his numbers are all accurate for the tournament that he played. Usually, from what I've seen, preparation is a lot of key to winning a lot of matches with Force of Will, and just the person who brings the best deck or the best tailored deck for the room is usually going to win, as long barring any small variances with Mana Stone callings and stuff like that. Usually the higher skill players are more often than not winning, because there's a lot of decisions to be made with Force of Will, and yeah, it reminds me a lot of some other games that we won't get into. But yeah, I'll go over it again. Here's a look at the stones again. Here's his deck, as you can see. You can go back and rewind it, and I don't want to go through all of it. His sideboard, granted your sideboard of course is going to change depending on your local meta, and of course his ruler Grimm. He's actually, as a retailer, as a note, Grimm's actually been pretty. I hope you guys have been having a solid luck or good luck pulling him, because out of a bunch of different cases, he's actually been, him and Dracula have been the least pulled out of 10 cases. So it doesn't bode well for his price. I mean, he's definitely one of the most wanted and most demanded rulers, just because of how good he is. But his pull rate is not that high, from what I've seen, which I don't know if that's a correlation issue with the Force Will Company. But his ratios aren't that good. So, but like always, guys, Robert Hebert over his Cyberlord Games. If you guys need any singles at all, feel free to check out the site. We'll be doing a big, massive restock as soon as the distributor ships off my new order of cases. So we'll be able to get some more rulers in for you guys. I'm also buying a bunch of rulers from people and spending quite a bit of money to make sure you guys have a nice singles inventory to draw from. There's also a couple other places you can check out. Feel free to check them out. I'm all about building the community, so if I don't have something and somebody else has it, go snatch it, because the more games everybody can get in, the more awareness of Force of Will, we can kind of get out there and get the cards into more people's hands. It's awesome. So, but this is Grimm, the boogeyman, another boogeyman of the Bifrost format. Check him out. If you like this deck, like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to share it. Like I said in previous videos, leave any comments. Post whatever deck you want to see next. We're probably going to, after this, we're probably going to start doing deck techs of actual team decks that we've myself and the rest of the Team CLG have been playtesting for a while. We just wanted to get, like I said, we just wanted to get a couple of decks out there that were popular and that have done well at the recent events that have happened across the world. So yeah, again, like, comment, subscribe. I'm Robert Hebert from Sideboard Games. Hope you guys enjoyed this deck tech. Enjoy your Sunday, guys, and yeah, I look forward to doing more content. I love doing this stuff. I hope you guys enjoy it too. So until next time, this is Robert Hebert from Sideboard Games, signing out.